The next technique we're going to look at is Sgraffito, and this tile I put this black slip on. I've waited several minutes. It feels like it's about the same consistency as the tile again, pretty much leather hard. But as I start working, if it starts to be mushy or muddy, then I will stop and wait a little longer. Are you starting to notice that that is a common instruction? Often we have to wait with ceramics. So again, I'm going to use a couple different tools. The two main tools that we have are our small ribbon tool and our needle tool, but you can experiment with any tools that you can find. If you are someone who's taken printmaking, this will not be very good for the blade, but you could use a relief cutting blade with this. And there are small loop tools that you can purchase that are specifically for this. So when we do Sgraffito, we're putting a color slip over the clay, so a different color, a contrasting color to the clay, and then we are scratching through it to reveal the clay. So like that. We can do that with lots of different types of tools. I'm going to use the corner of my small ribbon tool again. I'm going to use the rounded side of my small ribbon tool. Depth, we can do it with different pressure to get different feeling or different line quality. So we are going to get a little bit of those boogers. A little bit of boogerness is okay. If you start to see your marks get muddy, go ahead, step back and wait a little bit longer. So I'm just doing some kind of abstract design. Again, those little boogers, because we've got slip down, go ahead and ignore them for right now. You'll be able to brush them away more easily later. Let's see, I'm going to try to do something a little bit more elaborate. So here's like a little bit of a leaf shape. And let's say I want to actually make this leaf shape the whole object. I can do that. I can start to carve away the outside. And just like with printmaking, I could just carve it all away very cleanly. Like that. We're always going to have the texture, which of course printmaking would not be left behind, but I could carve it away cleanly, or I could carve it away with a texture that then is part of the design. Because again, we're leaving behind that texture as well as the color. So that is an example. With all these crumbles, I recommend having, you can put them into your bucket of water, or just have a spare bucket of water to put this type of thing in, because it can turn into dust, or just put it directly into the trash. All right, so this is the tile that we did yellow on. Just make sure that your tool is clean. And let's see, I'm going to do a kind of a grid pattern. Because you've got the texture, even if you don't have a huge difference between the clay color and the slip color, that difference will come out when it's glazed and fired. You'll see that yellow be a little bit more pronounced. But you can see that there is a difference, and this will look really interesting once it's fired. For my picture, I decided I wanted to make a ginkgo leaf, so I looked up what one looked like. I'm going to use my needle tool. So I'm going to start with my stem, I'm going to bring my leaf lobes out. And working with different tools can give you different line qualities. Okay, so I've removed the clay to make the outline of my ginkgo leaf, but I can also use a tool to then create texture and a background. And when you're working with this method, when you add the clay on, if you find that it makes the surface of your tile a little mushy, you just want to wait a little bit, let it stiffen back up to leather hard, and then go in. And as you're working, if at any point you find that your material is getting muddy or squishy, you want to go ahead and do that. Wait longer before you continue working. This will just make your life a little bit easier. Go in and get that out. So as you can see, I'm just switching the direction my line goes to add a little bit more interest. So it is the negative space, it's also the background, and it's also a design element on its own. So I'm going to go ahead and finish this, and I'll show you when it's done. And you just clean your tool as you go. If your tile is pretty close to the right leather hard, you'll get these little ribbons, but you will almost always get some boogers. If you're getting so many that you can't work, I recommend letting your tile get a little bit harder, a little bit more leather hard. But any that you do get that stick to your pot, you can actually just leave there till it's a little bit drier, and then as we have previously talked about, you can brush them off with a dry brush. Okay, so that's my little finished product, and I'm excited to see what you do. With this mask and coronavirus, I went in with my needle tool and added a little bit of detail.